Good evening, wrestling fans, and welcome to the Wrestle Talk Podcast. For the next 2 hours, we will bring you the latest pro wrestling news, in-depth analysis of all your favorite promotions from across the globe, and much, much more. We will also bring you exclusive interviews with the greatest professional wrestling personalities on the local, national, and international levels. If you want to follow the Wrestle Talk Podcast, check us out online at www.wrestletalkpodcast.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. And now, it's time for the reigning, defending, undisputed leader in pro wrestling podcast, the Wrestle Talk Podcast.
All right, wrestling fans, that's right. You are here live with the Wrestle Talk Podcast. We got one heck of a show lined up for you tonight. But before we get going, let's go ahead and get our host for the night in here, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. So let's go ahead and start with our normal host here on this Tuesday night. You know, the night owl won't be with us, but his cohort is still here. So let's get the man in here himself, the man who is trying to make wrestling great again. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. He is the one and only, the fabulous Dick Douglas.
Well, thank you. I don't know if we're going to make it great again. Was it ever great, really? You know, I mean, I think there's always been some things we can change, but I'm excited to be with you, right? You know, Renee being sick, it's ridiculous. It's actually ridiculous. And hello from Topeka. Well, hello from St. Louis. Well, the bottom line is this. 2 weeks ago, I came in sicker than a dog. I did 2 hours. Hoss. And what did he do today? He called in sick. And this is why we need Dick Douglas to save professional wrestling. This is why professional wrestling needs Dick, because there's no sick days. There's no sick days. But that's okay. I don't blame Renee. I don't blame him. Who's my guest? Who's my guest co-host?
You know, we all aspire to be as good as you are. And, you know, just some of us fall a little short. But
all the time. It's okay.
But yeah, let's go ahead and get your co-host in here for the night. So filling in for the night owl, Renee Martinez, is the one, the only, the maestro, Jeremy Karl.
Thank you. What is up, gentlemen?
Surprised he's not 15 minutes late this time.
I know,
hey,
right?
How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I mean, honestly, I even told Renee, I said, be prepared. I might be 15 minutes late, but look at that.
I think you should. TJ. You know, this is TJ Everhart. He says, what a dick. TJ Everhart, great referee, but he hated the fact that, Jeremy, you saw what I said on social media a few weeks ago. We need to change some fundamental principles in professional wrestling. We need to change some rules. They're outdated. And TJ didn't like it. He thought I was going completely against referees, and a lot of referees are just, let's be honest, they're terrible. They're absolutely terrible. There needs to be more qualifications to become a referee, and TJ's part of that. He's a great referee, though. He just doesn't like me. Anyway, Jeremy, I-70 Sports Media, how's it going?
It is going pretty well, Dick. How are things going with you?
We're going to get to that in a little bit. You know, we got Dynamo Pro Wrestling this Saturday night, Keon Option Battle Royal, Memorial Battle Royal. It's going to be a great night. A lot of people are coming. A lot of people. Yeah, right there. Look at that. Even though it's covering my face, I still like it. And, you know, it's going to be a great night of wrestling. Show starts today. You'll see Jeremy Karp there, and you'll see Dick Douglas with his wave of supporters. And a lot of hijackers and lobbyists that have been trying to boo me out of a building. I threw a couple out just a few weeks ago. It was disgusting. It was a disgusting disgrace. But we're going to talk about that later. We have a great show with two great guests. And Haas, do you want to break it down for us before we get into our sponsors?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Why not?
Yeah, we got two great guests on here tonight. As always, we have Dean coming on from Soar Wrestling.
That's going to be great.
And we have Karl, who is a Midwest Hall of Famer, coming on. So, got to be looking forwards to those guys.
I would say so. And, that's why I'm excited to do this tonight, even though, different circumstances because we're a week away from one of our campaign's biggest nights in St. Louis. But to have two great wrestling minds coming on the show tonight with you and Jeremy is always great. But before we get into high spots, let's break down our sponsors of tonight's show like we always do. And let's just start it off with Everything Combat, Kincaid Arcade, the Esports Bar, KC, Jeremy Karp's Interstate 70 Sports Media, great source for your sports news. Here in the St. Louis area, especially Royal Mills Transportations, Painter Dreams Productions, Rathbun Engraving. Where's that mug at? Do we have the mug? Is it available? Me Fiesta, KC Party Rentals, Nobleman's Bar, Barber Lounge, KC, Missouri. Ask for Pete the Barber. That's the mug you can get.
Look at that beauty mug.
And the FWWC, like always. But, Jeremy, since you've made this voyage onto a different night of the week and to maybe doing some double duty, why don't you start off high spots? Do you have anything you want to talk about tonight?
Hold on. Wait a minute. We're not on high spots
do we have
yet.
to? Do we have to?
No,
we have
You
to?
have got to do things in order.
We have to do?
This isn't going to be good.
So, as always,
unfortunately,
as we do in this point of the show,
right?
I know it is Jeremy's favorite part of every Tuesday night.
Oh my God.
So at this time, as always,
Jeremy, before you go any further, I tried to get this moved streamlined by.
I know. I give you so much credit for really trying, but Hoss is Hoss.
So, I'm just following format.
Right.
But as always, if you would remove your hats, place your hands over your heart as we pay homage to the best damn country around, and that is America, damn it.
Get her out of here.
That was just,
that's okay. Like I said, I tried to get through it, Jeremy. I tried to get us a little bit of leeway. And, by the way, have you noticed how much brighter my face is today? I think we got new studio lights and we're trying them out. So I just wanted to, I normally don't glow this much. I'm not pregnant if anyone had any rumors, but, I
mean, I guess you're just preparing for, this Saturday for another big appearance.
That's right. Well, we haven't gotten to the sauna yet in the salon, but Hoss, I appreciate Roseanne Barr just as much as the next cancel culture Twitter person does. But it's great to follow things in order, and we thank you for that. So, is next? Is it okay with you, the boss of the show, for high spots? Is that okay?
Yes, we can go ahead and get into high spots just as soon as we hit that wonderful music by DJ Money to get us into that high spot.
Absolutely.
Mic check. Yeah. All right. Wrestle Talk Podcast. DJ Money. Yeah. Let's go. Welcome to High Spots, where we vibe news like Blair Chop and Tom Shop, coming through the screen of a laptop and non-stop like a running speed with a flag top. We hit hard like jet shots and backdrops. I'm a spark flag, feel like a barely fought that ass on. We up to speed while they stay slow. Wrestle Talk Podcast, now they know we about to start the show.
All right. And real quick, if you are tuning in to us through the FWWC page, there is a link at the top of it or somewhere for the actual show. Be sure to click that link. If you don't click that link, you're going to come up as Facebook user and we have no idea who you are. And we would love to know who you are as we show your comments and everything. So please click that link so we can see your name and know who's interacting with us, because we always love to know who our fans are that are interacting.
Absolutely. Well, some of them. I don't think we want to know who all of them are. I mean, there's some that are pretty mean to me, and I don't know if I want to know them, right? I think that's a fair argument, right, Jeremy?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Well, would you like to answer this comment, John?
Well, she tends to help host the FWWC Tonight on Thursday nights, and if we had to, we might pull her in for a show or two, but she's just not a normal everyday host that we rotate in.
There you go. Well, with that being said, High Spots, Jeremy Karp, John Haas, I will let you guys, as gracious as I am of a person, I like to hear my opinion, but what do you guys want to talk about first? I have a couple of things that we can talk about in regards to, maybe television ratings. Maybe we can talk about a little bit of what's going on in Missouri and the independent scene, and maybe jumping the gun and not doing enough preparation. I have a couple of different avenues we can go down, but what do you guys want to talk about while we're preparing for our
So the one thing that really came to my head recently is, and for those that watch Monday Night Raw over the past, honestly, 2 months, have noticed Alexa Bliss has not been on television. And a lot of people have been wondering what's up with that. I mean, she's the highest, believe it or not, I mean, she is one of the top merchandise sellers in all of WWE. And the reason because she is not on TV lately is because, I mean, quite frankly, in their words, no creative direction for her character. Now, she was originally going to get involved in the feud between Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair, but those plans were nixed. She hasn't been seen on TV since. I mean, how do you guys feel about how WWE is treating Alexa Bliss, not just as a character, but as a person? Because she's one of the hardest workers. Like I said, one of the top sellers as far as merch goes. And obviously for Vince McMahon, that's a big thing. And yet somehow they find a way to not use her. And we usually know how this ends up.
Right. Well, I'll dive into it first. And Drew kind of hit it kind of a little bit with her getting married. And that has something to do with it, but also too, let's say it's not the married reason, right? Maybe it's because they really just don't have a creative direction and the dirt sheets are right, or whoever's right about this. Is it a bad thing, right? So we've seen so many times how many times they've run out of ideas for certain people, and then they just kind of job them out for 2 and 3 years. They get released because of a budget cut. And, sometimes they do well in the indies, sometimes, and most of the time they don't, and they kind of die off. So in this case, regardless of the reason, it's still in her best interest. And I think in the long run, good for everything. And that's just kind of where I stand on it. I don't know, John, what do you think?
I've been hearing a lot about this lately with her not being on TV and everything. And, just like Drew said, and you touched on as well, she did just get married. She has been out on her honeymoon. And I actually read something that said now the honeymoon is over and she's looking at coming back, and they are looking at bringing her back. It's just a matter of, is she coming back as a fiendish type character, or is she coming back as a fun-loving Alexa Bliss? How is she coming back is the true question from one of the things that I read. But one thing for sure, with the amount of merchandise that she sells and the fans that she has behind her and everything, I'm sure she'll be coming back as a face character, no matter whether it's fiendish or not.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I definitely think it's fair. But do you, in your opinion, do you just run her right into the main event, spot right away, or the top woman spot right away, or do you let her build a little bit after basically a year and a half almost, it seems like, or almost a year for sure, of her not being anywhere remotely near the product? What do you do? Well, you have a Ronda Rousey, you have a Sasha Banks, Charlotte Flair, you have all these women that should, in all seriousness, be champions in anyone's company, and now you got a fifth one added to the mix. What do you do with all this talent, and how do you make it interesting? Is my question.
Yeah, I think they have to bring her back in and build her back up. I know she'll have a lot of fans behind her because, I mean, she still has that fan following. There's still all that talk, but I don't think you bring her back and just throw her directly into the main event.
Right.
I don't think that she is that big of a superstar to where that happens, like some of the others, like Ronda Rousey and some of the other names. But I definitely think that she's probably coming back soon.
Right. Oh, definitely. Kansas City Extreme Wrestling this Saturday at Soccer Nation. Don't miss it. And that's from Renee Martinez, or as I like to call him, Renee calls in sick Martinez, not the night out today. But neither here or there.
The night out, not the night out.
But there it is. So real quick, let me get into my high spots topic really fast. And that's a nice emoji. Real fast, we see this last week after WrestleMania, four shows not doing necessarily as well as they were during WrestleMania build up and that kind of building phase with television ratings. Just a question here, and this is something we need to really address. Is it accurate anymore to judge a company's success based solely on TV ratings? Because we're seeing it from both sides of the aisle now here with AEW, with WWE. WWE does over 2 million, week prior, and now they're, back down to 1.8. So that's a over 20% drop. Dynamite's under 1 million, so many other things. But we're in an era now of social media. We're in an era now of streaming and different avenues. So are television ratings necessarily important? I mean, do they actually matter? That's my question tonight. That's, to me, the biggest one of the year is how are they going to start truly judging this competition and this race more accurately?
So, in my opinion, and I take a look at, how important ratings used to be, kind of when we were growing up and Haas was growing up and everything, and how literally the basis of the companies were off of what they got in TV ratings.
Right.
But you flash forward, it's 2022, and, Dick, you had mentioned it with all the streaming services and all the different avenues that you can watch a wrestling program. I mean, just look at AEW. They put 2 or 3 of their shows on YouTube for free. So the way I look at it, while you can judge a company's success to an extent off the TV ratings, you cannot solely base it off of them. I feel that you have to take everything into account. Consistent quarterly success economically. Honestly, you also have to check in on just company morale. See if the people that work in that certain promotion are happy being there.
Right.
And yeah, you factor in TV ratings to an extent, but at the same time, if say 1 week Raw draws 1.5 million and Dynamite 700,000, but you add an additional maybe 300,000 per show on DVRs and streams and such, that doesn't really make it a bad, rating in the end, because there's still people that are tuning back in. It's just convenience. Nowadays, they don't have to make as much of an effort to be in front of their TV on Monday nights at 7:00 like we had to. We had to be like, oh crap, we got to get home ASAP. Make sure to be in front of that TV on channel 28, or on Spike TV or something. Nowadays, we don't have to worry about that. We have the show recording to where we don't even have to record it each week. It automatically will do it. So I think it has a factor, but it's not the sole factor.
Right. And I get what Drew's saying here too, with they maintain how do they maintain it? Well, it's simple. I mean, the key demographic is really what they're looking at now. That's kind of their bigger, your bigger metric. So whenever you have, them complaining, they're only getting 1 million, they're only getting 700,000, 600,000, but what are they polling that night? That's their metric they're following now. That's what, everyone's kind of been going off of, and the people screaming bloody murder for, Raw's down to 1.5 million. Well, yeah, but also it brings me to this point, and John, let me know what you think about this. Is WrestleMania beat Super Bowl out in social media engagement? I mean, killed it. And everyone can make the assumption that NFL's down in popularity. They're going through some turmoil. They got a lot of stuff. It's a rough road for them. But at the end of the day, it's WrestleMania beating out the Super Bowl for social media engagement, social media interaction, social media views, social media everything. So is it time now that maybe you see some of these executives like Nick Khan or some of these executives making television deals use these factors more and making a decision whether or not to even stay on cable anymore? Because how many people are getting off of cable? I mean, are we going to see here in 5 years HBO Max picking up a live stream and starting to do live broadcasts on Wednesdays and live broadcasts on Fridays? It's not to say it's too far off. I mean, anything's possible. And we're in a situation when you're in a dying industry in television, especially cable television.
Yeah, I tend to think you're going to see more and more with streaming services and stuff. And, for one thing, I think they can make more off of the streaming services than they do from Comcast or any of these cable companies.
Right.
But, also there's, rather than ratings, I've said time and time again, wrestling fans are their own type of thing. You can't really measure the wrestling fan, because the wrestling fan, right now you may have 3 million wrestling fans interested in wrestling. Next month, you may only have 1 million of them, but then give it a couple months down the road and you're going to be back to 3 million again.
Right.
They go in waves. And so I don't think that the ratings can really be measured the way that a lot of other things can, because wrestling fans, where they may lose interest one week, they'll have it again the next week. Not just that. I mean, you look at the product that the indies are putting out. There are a lot of great indie shows out there, and they're not on TV.
Right.
But, they're drawing great crowds week after week, to these indie shows. And like I say, they are putting out a really great product. You can't measure ratings with them other than ticket sales, but
well, I mean, in all fairness, yeah, I get what you're saying, but I mean, it's hard to compare that to the WWE or Dynamite or even an Impact, who, in all seriousness, probably gets beat out in ratings or beat out in views by other local indie promotions. It's just that's a thing. It's just, my thing is there's got to be a change, and that's what I'm kind of alluding to, in the way that we kind of measure success of companies now. In this new age of technology and distribution, like you just kind of hinted at.
Right. And just look at, honestly, I think Chris Riddell just hit the nail on the head with his most recent comment about.
Hold on, let me read it first.
I mean,
well, that's exactly what I just said. Don't say Chris Riddell. I said that first. It's a dying industry. Right. I said specifically cable.
Okay. Nick Douglas said it, and Chris Rodell reiterated it. But it is true. I mean, you hear people cutting the box, switching from straight cable to streaming services. I mean, people would much rather have 5 different streaming services than one cable box from Spectrum. And that's just the way it is these days. So,
true.
Yeah, it is a hard measuring stick for the entire basis of a company.
Right. But I believe part of the breaking news here overall, though, is that Chris Rodell actually agrees with Dick Douglas that ratings mean nothing.
See, this is why
that's
Saturday's
breaking
looking.
news by itself.
This is Dick Douglas's way of changing professional wrestling. He literally just got Chris Rodell to agree with him.
Just wait for Saturday. Just wait for Saturday. It's going to be. This is great. This is a great start to the week, and it's going to end Saturday. It's going great. But yeah, Chris Rodell, a very intelligent man in this regard,
and he'll be on Roundabout Sports tomorrow night. So,
that's right. Absolutely, we saw that earlier. And can we get to the latest comment from Rene Martinez? What about his breaking news? What am I missing? What am I not being informed of?
His breaking news
Ethernet cable stocks went up.
Tony Khan will make an announcement this week about an announcement that he'll be announcing soon. That is the breaking news.
All right, no, get him out of here. Out.
Where's Jonesy when you need him?
Jeremy Karp, what are we talking about? What's on your mind?
So here's another interesting one that popped my mind. So, okay, I was just checking it out, and this one, and mind you, we're in 2022. So Daniel Garcia, AEW wrestler Daniel Garcia said, the difference between pro wrestlers and sports entertainers and how you can be both of them. Now, I think it's a well-known fact that Vince McMahon, God love him, changed the face of wrestling forever, but he likes referring to, those that are contracted as sports entertainers, not professional wrestlers. Paul Heyman said it best. To Vince, it's a dirty word, wrestling is. But Daniel Garcia said, you can be a legit wrestler and still be a sports entertainer. Any style can be sports entertainment. Eddie Guerrero, for example, he was an incredible in-ring wrestler and a great sports entertainer. That is the mold, that is the blueprint of what being a great pro wrestler is and a great sports entertainer. So, Haas, I want to ask you, and I know once Dick Douglas comes back, I want his opinion on it. But do you think this day and age, with everything, with all the social medias, all of these dirt sheets, how you're able to be portrayed on TV, is it possible to be both a professional wrestler and a sports entertainer?
Well, there are lots of professional wrestlers who are great entertainers. There are some that aren't so much. But, overall, the ones that don't like to call professional wrestlers, yeah, let them go out there and, get body slammed on the mat or have some of these other moves put on them that these guys go through week after week, night after night, and see how they feel.
Right.
And tell me that you don't have to be a professional athlete in order to go through this stuff. I'm sorry, I don't see it. They have to be professional athletes to go through it. Now, I know some people say, oh, they're just glorified stuntmen, no, I know glorified stuntmen that aren't in as good a shape as professional wrestlers. You can be both, but they should be classified as professional wrestlers and professional athletes. They put everything into this and they train hard and they deserve to be respected. That's just my opinion on it.
Well, and I definitely agree because I remember I've had, Luke Roberts, and we had a comment over here earlier by TJ Everhart, great guy, great referee. And I've had them on Roundabout Sports in the past, and I asked them both. I said, what would you say to somebody that would come up to you and they said, pro wrestling is fake? And they said basically what you said, Hoss. Get in the ring, take a bump. And, I've been right in the ring. I've been right next to the guys taking bumps. And I've put together and taken apart those rings. Let me tell you something. There ain't jack shit that's fake about it. There is not. Yeah, you predetermine the outcome. But other than that, let me tell you something. For Dynamo Pro, the commentary table that Luke and I are at is on the far side of the gymnasium. You can hear the chops across the gym. It is like an echo. And then you see the red marks after the match on guys like Adrian Surge, or you'll see Camaro Jackson, like with scratches all over from the shots he took. This is real. Okay? And I agree. I feel like when you call them a sports entertainer as opposed to a professional wrestler, it kind of demeans the whole thing. And, I think Daniel Garcia is right that you can be both. But I think from a pure marketing standpoint, you should be able to be considered a professional wrestler without getting this look of disdain or somebody like, he's a pro wrestler. No, that fake shit. No. But hey, there he is. Dick, I got a question for you. I was just I really want your opinion on this. I don't know if I can I don't think we can hear you.
Sorry, my team was sitting in and filling me in. And by the way, I needed to take a break for the people. I needed a charger. We had no charger. I had to run for a charger. What's your question, Jeremy?
All right, so I was bringing it up to Haas, and so Daniel Garcia recently went on an interview on a podcast and stated that it is possible, and it should be possible, for you to be both a professional wrestler and a sports entertainer. Now, you know as well as I do that there's promoters out there who think pro wrestling is a dirty term, whereas others feel the opposite in regards to sports entertainer.
Well, let's clarify. I feel like there's one person that might think it's a dirty word at this point in time. And in all seriousness, I think Vince just kind of gets a kick out of not letting people say it more than anything now. I think at first it was, and I think it just kind of turned into Vince being kind of, I'm going to get it. And it's an insurance thing, and they can't say pro wrestling because of certain things, I know. But you're right, that indie scenes there's always that backdoor promoter that thinks that there's a difference.
And do you think that in 2022, with everything regarding social media and how things aren't so close-knit like they were back in, the early mid-90s and in the 80s, do you feel it's possible for a wrestler to be both a professional wrestler and that sports entertainer? Yes.
CM Punk. Without a doubt. I think that's a fair assessment. And I think that, a lot of people like sports entertainment. The thing I think that's terrible about this all, and like Drew just said, he likes to watch, sports entertainment, would rather watch it. A lot of people believe that. I think that's the biggest problem, is that in all seriousness, I think that it's just like saying the word lobbyist and consultant, right? It's basically one and the same, depending on the situation, depending on what you're consulting about and different things. But 9 times out of 10, you're consulting on something to get something changed for somebody else. Therefore, you're lobbying to get something done. It's no different. So I think the sports entertainment and professional wrestling word, really, it's the same thing. The only difference is there's just different degrees of wrestling, right? There's different degrees of pool. There's different degrees of swimming, of golf, of certain things that become team sports, individual sports. And I think that's all it is just a varying degree of it. It's like, would you rather watch, and this is a hypothetical, Jeremy, but would you rather watch Michael Phelps do a 100-yard freestyle or a 100-yard butterfly stroke, right, in the Olympics.
Right.
Regardless, you're watching them swim, right? It's
Yeah.
just a different style of swimming. And I think that's the biggest problem right now, is that there's just this like hypothetical war and theoretical, more likely, war over sports entertainment and professional wrestling. And I think that's a problem. Let me ask you this, and John, feel free to hop in on this also. Are we going over, by the way, Haas? Make sure you yell at me if I'm going too long.
Well, no, feel free. I was actually just going to give a quick update just as soon as I got a chance on Karl Lauer. We are having some technical difficulties. We're working to see if we can get him in.
No, I just yell at me if I'm going too long. I'm being a good guy today.
Yeah. So for now, let's just keep on getting on
this is great
until we can get there.
Right. So my question is, and I'll answer it kind of with this question: is the pop Vince McMahon got for taking off his jacket, right? At Mania, that was, I think you could say, probably as big of a pop as CM Punk's debut, without a doubt. You have 70,000 people in there. Yeah, now you could argue the degree of the eruption and the different tone of it, and yeah, he was finally there. But it's the same thing. Vince McMahon didn't go into a wrestling ring to have a match in over 15 years, and it was this big shabuzi, and it was, in all seriousness, the biggest piece of shit anyone's ever seen, right? I mean, it wasn't good.
I got enjoyment out of it, but I totally get where you're coming from. Right. I really do.
But everyone loved it because it is what it is, right? It's WrestleMania, and then you get Vince, and Austin comes out, and Vince takes the worst stunner ever, and Austin laughs, and it was still awesome because you had that nostalgia feeling, you had pro wrestling. And that's the same thing as what it is as what they do on Wednesday night on TNT. It's no different. It's just a different style of it. And I think people should just like everything, and I'm reading comments as they come in, and I kind of I kind of agree with that. Let's see. Honestly, y'all might disagree. I think sports entertainment is a more accurate way to describe what we love. It's sports. But also entertainment, produced, scripted. And that's really all professional wrestling is. That's kind of what my whole elaborate kind of go around of this was, is it's the same thing. It's just no different than ECW in the 90s and WCW in the 90s and then WWF. And there's three different styles, right? And Vince ultimately won. Oh, get him out of here.
Hey, boys, how's everybody doing?
What is up, Big Sexy?
Whoa, hold on, real quick, real fast. Did you get a portrait painted of you?
No, why? Why? Oh, are you talking about the phone thing? That's from my mother. That's been in my family for the last 50 years. So
I apologize.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding with you. But
no,
what's
how
up,
are
guys?
we? Big Sexy.
How you doing? Are you pontificating on anything good tonight?
I am. We have a couple of different things. We were talking about pro wrestling sports.
We do not need a No Lance cameo. No. There's no.
No,
actually,
Joe.
You and I
actually,
agreed
for you, Joe is actually unavailable. We did talk to him at one point about coming in tonight, and he's unavailable.
This is great. This is fun.
He did just see Fozzy, so that was good.
But I'm sorry for him.
But he is the world's biggest snitch fan, so.
And we got to talk about that here in a couple of minutes. But
we don't.
Tonight.
No, we don't.
Agreed tonight on something. I think that's something we need to discuss.
Well, we did because ratings are not the be all and end all anymore. This isn't 1997, 1998. This is that was what drove the money to the companies was the ratings. We're not in 1997, 98 anymore. Ratings is only one part of it. You got streams, you got pay-per-views, premium live events. I mean, whatever you want to call. The WWE goes to Saudi twice a year. As much as we hate it, I mean, they're making money. That WWE is making more money than they ever have.
Right. And Chris, you and I are both in local media and in some capacity. Do you know how many times someone made the argument? Well, how many people listen? Online, or how many? When you add everything up, when you go through the interactions, when you go through things, that's how you get your true rating. You got to have a median of different dynamics, right, to things, and not just to catch it all.
And ratings is just a small part of it nowadays because,
right.
People record, like you said, people record the show and watch it later so they can fast forward through the commercials because they don't want to watch the commercials.
Absolutely.
I mean, or they go on YouTube and they catch their clips that they want to watch.
Well, that's also.
I mean, they hear everything. I mean, like I said, the Blues game tonight is on a streaming service instead of on Bally Sports Midwest. So, and the Cardinals are going to be on Amazon Prime. They're also going to be on Apple TV. So, I mean,
the way I look at it is, when we talk about that, also people will ask us, and I think Dick, you just touched on this when all of us will do a certain show, whether you do your radio show or I do a podcast or we do this podcast, and people will ask us, how many people are tuning in as it's going on live. Well, honestly, it's hard to use that number to reflect on the success of the show because, like it's been touched on by all of us, people will just go back and listen anytime they want. We air it live because this is our scheduled time and people will tune in, but people will always tune in afterwards or on a different time on their own when they're able to. That's just how it is, especially these days.
Well, and not to kind of jump gun here, but since we still have some time and we have the one and only DJ Big Sexy, Chris Rodell, in attendance, I got to ask you this. As speaking of people tuning in, there's no surprise that when Dick Douglas goes in the Dynamo Pros ring, that people tune in. I mean, if you look at it, I have the most views on YouTube basically in the last 3 months out of Dynamo. I mean, I hate to be that guy to throw it out there, but I'm going to on YouTube specifically. What do you think ahead of this?
Much on YouTube.
Well, they're going there.
Show Saturday. Whenever I come in and I win this battle royal, and I go in and I win the championship for my movement.
Well, we know that's not going to happen. But I mean, I mean, the last 2 months you've been booed out of Concordia Turner's Hall.
Well, by a select group of people that
by a select group of people is the only people. It was everyone in the building. You can't.
The drunk people that were there for Ricky Rodriguez.
Real fast before we talk about anything about other things going on that Saturday, but let's talk about the fact of who booed me out, tried to boo me out last month. It was a group of people that witnessed Ricky Rodriguez get killed.
I was saying.
That witnessed Ricky Rodriguez get killed. And the thing is, I was honest with them, guys. I told them I'm not the only politician. I'm just honest about my beliefs. The locker room's full of them. And that's what I'm here trying to say. It's trying to make wrestling a place for everyone. And that's what we're doing. And when you have people that support and only support a select few group of wrestlers, they follow him to every show. They sit in one little corner and they boo the snitch when he comes out. And they do things like that. And we all see him and they just buy their shirts. And they basically pay for these people to live. And then they're mad at me for saying it. Right?
I will actually say that my cousin who was at the show, who brought a group this last time, my cousin is a huge Snitch fan, and I could never be more disappointed.
I thought he was going to say Dick Douglas.
No, God, no one's a Dick Douglas fan. But no, he's a huge Snitch fan, and I've never been more disappointed in anyone in my entire life. But
that's fair. But we have this battle royal. Whoever wins it, or the final two, we're being told, right? Go on for the chance to compete for the D1 championship.
Yeah, it's gonna be a Rumble. It's gonna be a Royal Rumble style match, and when it comes down to the final two, it's pinfall or submission. I mean, we're not expecting you to be there, Dick, but you could possibly be there. I mean,
hey, the maestro might leave the commentary table. Let's go.
Can I say something really quick because I feel like we got to get this addressed. I just want to make sure it's known. Thank you, Drew. I'm glad you liked it.
We're so immature.
Is there something funny about what I just said? I think I was just, kind of reiterating the fact he likes Richard Douglas, and I appreciate that. But I want to get something out of the way really quick about Saturday. And I think I want to be serious about this just for 2 seconds here. Final two, I've been preparing all month, okay? I prepare. I do all these things. I go on local news affiliates. I talk. I get the message out for Dynamo Pro. And by the way, I'm paying for it. Our campaign's paying for it out of funds that were legally generated. So we buy our time at Dynamo, and we're still not on the damn poster. Can you imagine this? Everyone who has been in the parking lot of Concordia Turners was on the poster this month. Did you see that?
I'm not on the poster.
Except for Richard Douglas, a guy that's going to compete and be I'm going to win. I'm going to win big.
Do you honestly think that
I've been winning since Dustin Rhodes School? Whenever we beat Corey Cooper, and then all of a sudden I get attacked by a zombie. When I beat Magnifico when I came back. When I almost beat Ricky Cruz, and no one wants to point that one out. I was almost IWA heavyweight champion. But I don't get a spot on the poster, and all I'm trying to do is make wrestling a place for everybody in St. Louis. And it's disgusting. And I hope Dynamo Pro Management's watching this, because when I win that title, D1 specifically Saturday, executive championship rules will be in effect from that point forward. Executive champion rules.
Can you shut up for a minute so I can talk?
Yes.
Do you honestly think if you were standing in the final two across the ring from someone like Big Vic or Mike Outlaw that you were going to come out as the D1 champion?
I mean, I'd be happy to call how that goes. So.
Well, first of all, the last time I was in the ring with Big Vic, he obliterated Luke Roberts at the loading dock in Grafton, but we'll have more on that later. And
you loved that moment, didn't you?
And I did. Big Vic, by the way, and I are great friends. Big Vic believes in our movement. I don't know if you've seen Twitter, but he's a huge supporter of the messages that we're trying to get across. And I think if you ask him, he might like to have elect to have a Dick Douglas champion and might just jump over the rope. Who knows, right? It's professional wrestling. Anything can happen. And Mike Outlaw, I mean, he's a legend. Mike Outlaw's great, but he's no Dick Douglas. And that's something we need to consider here. Okay? And we need to take that in with a big grain of salt, because let's be honest, Mike Outlaw hasn't done the things Dick Douglas has done.
Same with Ricky Cruz. You really think that you're going to eliminate Ricky Cruz?
I've taken Ricky Cruz to the wire. You know, let's be honest here. I almost ended a reign of championship. The only reason I didn't win is because Chris K cheated me, somebody I trusted. And, it gets to a point where it's almost as annoying as people commenting as Facebook user trying to ask me to move along. And it's just not going to happen. You know, I mean, it's very frustrating, and it's just when you have the names, right? The names you just said, legends, but they're not a Dick Murdoch. They're where are the Dick Murdochs of the day? It's time for Dick Murdoch to be reincarnated, to have the Von Erichs be reincarnated. Their message you are the Dick Douglas.
We only have room for one Dick in Dynamo Pro.
You are the reincarnate of the Von Erichs and Ric Flair and Dick Murdoch and everybody.
Hey,
that's a question mark. That is not a statement.
I know our movement is a reincarnate of what they believe professional wrestling to be in St. Louis, and it will be again. So if we're in the ring with the Mike Outlaw, Ricky Cruz, and Adrian Surge, I hope it's a Ricky Rodriguez so I can throw him over right next to his stupid fans. It's going to be good. And we're going to compete with them. We're going to stand them toe-to-toe, look them right in the eye, and tell them they need Dick Douglas.
This is the thing. Hang on. The thing about Ricky Rodriguez's fans, that we need them at these shows, because if they're not there, Dick, who's going to buy the beer?
Are you calling them alcoholics?
No. I'm just saying it's the entire town of Fairmont City, Illinois that comes to the shows.
Well, that's a fair point.
They rent buses and come over, and I love it. They're freaking awesome.
You got to admire it, honestly. It is actually
absolutely
really entertaining.
But let's talk about this. We also have a couple of other matches, right, Chris, that are going to be Saturday?
Yes, we got Camaro Jackson going to defend against ATM. Camaro Jackson actually challenged ATM to this match because Camaro wants to give people that haven't gotten title shots. Right. And why isn't he giving Dick Douglas?
I knew that was going to be
it. I'm not trying to start anything. Let's be honest here. I have 11,000 views on one video on TikTok, and all of a sudden I'm still a nobody. I don't understand this. Our movement reaches more people than all of them combined. Every wrestler in that locker room, all of them, every wrestler in Dynamo, and I still don't get called. I don't get called to bring the crowds. And it's honestly discerning to me. It's very discerning. But
I will say to Dick Douglas's credit, people tune in when you talk.
people tune to hear him get booed out of the arena, but I mean, I guess they're listening. That's all that matters. It
is going to be a good match with Camaro and ATM. It really is. Those two guys are phenomenal.
And also for the women's championship, Reign Victoria is going to take on Blair Onyx. Blair Onyx is the spider of the independent wrestling world. So these two have fought before, so it's going to be a great match. And brand new Dragons Guild is going to take on the Butcher, Damian Blade, and Cayman. So
they're going to get killed.
Who the Butcher and Cayman?
No. And no, Renee Martinez, it's not. I was just trying to get some stuff out for our
Renee, if you came to the show, we would be able to talk about things you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, but I just wanted to get a couple more of those matches out because DynamoProWrestling.BigTartel.com is where you can get tickets and see Dick Douglas at thecityonthehill.org. Renee Martinez, talk to me about your I-70 sports podcast tomorrow.
Renee Martinez isn't here. It's Jeremy Karp and it's Haas and it's Chris. You said Renee Martinez.
No, I was saying and to help Renee Martinez and not have them.
So Haas, I believe there's actually is WDWA running this weekend? I believe I saw that.
Yes, they are. They have a big show coming up this weekend. They have their Holy Grail show, which there will be a tournament going on for the Holy Grail, and the person who wins that will get a future world title shot.
Can we send Dick Douglas up there to participate in the
That's
Holy
another
Grail?
thing. Actually, thank you for bringing this up. You know, I wanted to go on a Thank You America tour. My team told me no, but I feel like if people just started booking me from this podcast, I'd be done in like 2 months. I feel like we have listeners in every country.
So you want to go to Kansas City? You want to go to West Virginia? You want to go to Virginia? You want to go where else do you want to go?
Well, any place I could buy a trailer and say it's my residence. But that was funny. And you know that was
okay.
Funny.
I'm giving them. That was great.
People. That was funny. Thank you very much. Thank you. I want to go everywhere. Everyone needs Dick, right? And everyone needs this message. And I would love to go to Kansas City. I've already been there once. Oh, and at AWR at the end of April. Oh, I thought it was going to say John Hardcore Haas was broadcasting, but Night Out in Espanol. I love it.
Yes, he's going to be the official Spanish broadcasting.
I feel bad for the table he's going to be sitting at,
and that is actually kind of awesome.
That really is super cool.
That is a super cool opportunity because it's going to boost Renee, and honestly, Renee is looking to become more into the Spanish broadcasting world. So
really cool. And I support the Night Owl. I just don't support him phoning it in and calling off on a day that he knows that he's going to be here with Dick Doug. It's okay, but I'm not trying to start anything. I was sick of, when I had to do this.
I was going to say, didn't you call off a couple weeks ago? And
No, I was here. I was sick. I was sweating, but I was here for my people. And that's why people are supporting Dick Douglas. I mean, it's simple, right? But let me ask you guys this. Here we go. You guys have a podcast tomorrow. What are we going to talk about in that podcast? What topics? Are we going to get to learn about Chris Rodell a little bit?
Yes. The plan.
Yes. You're going to learn about my not just wrestling, but my fandom for the St. Louis Blues, and even maybe we might even talk about the Cardinals a little bit. I mean, I have this huge thing about the St. Louis Blues. So, and the St. Louis Blues are actually going to be in Wichita, Kansas, for a preseason game. So, Renee, I might be coming to your area. Look out!
Sound the alarms. That'll be really cool to listen to hear tomorrow and catch. And what did Renee Martinez say? I'm trying to read comments, but I can't read them that fast.
Something about the Oscars.
Oh boy.
Wow. Well, and guys, talking about the Oscars here, the biggest work of them all. No.
Didn't you miss a Tuesday because you were at the State of the Union address?
Well, that was March 2nd or March 1st. Sorry, when I was in DC, greeting our president, watching him give the State of the Union. But anyway, neither here or there. This is something that's kind of interesting, and it's the topic of the new the future of NXT, right? there's some people, a lot of people aren't liking this, and I wanted to wrap up the 8 o'clock hour if that's what, we're getting ready to be into the shoot and shout segment, correct? Right? Or are we kind of past that and onto the greener pastures, right, Haas?
Hey, right now I believe we're still in the high spots, and unfortunately our first hour guest will not be able to join us tonight
It
due
happens.
to technical difficulties. So
hey, they're going to be at Dynamo this weekend.
We're
Jesus.
good for whatever you guys want to do, I tell you. And
real quick,
stop trying to tell bad jokes.
That was a fact. It wasn't a joke.
Well, I mean, they are technically going to be there, but it's still a bad joke. So,
it's all about how you look at it.
Renee wants to do MLW. Renee wants to be an MLW someday as a Spanish broadcaster. So
he will. Renee will. He's great. But I wanted to kind of talk about this. NXT, right? We can look back at what was the black and gold and what now is the tie-dyed studio show that we're witnessing. Is this the future? Is this Vince's future? Is this what he thinks sports entertainment is going to look like in the next couple of years? And is that why he's getting the younger guys to start doing more studio-based stuff? Are we going to see the end of the actual live touring portion of WWE and just have them do pay-per-views?
I mean, do they really? I would have to go back to look at their gates. I mean, what are they drawing on their house shows? I mean, what are they drawing on their, as compared to live TV or premium live events? They had a what they called the Saturday Night's Main Event show this past week. That would have been cool. That would have been a cool little network add-on. Put it on. I mean, do you really need a whole bunch of stuff? You already got your guys there. I mean, you don't need a full setup for TV. A couple cameras, a couple of announcers. Even if you don't want to pay the announcers to go there, put them in the studio. I mean, we learned through COVID that baseball and hockey can be called through a studio and a TV feed. So,
well, and to be honest with you, I think that's a better way to call it. Not necessarily in a, we were a couple of questions, and actually, we'll kind of go a little bit into.
Renee had a good question.
Take a couple of minutes of a break, but you're right, and with wrestling, it's probably better to watch something like that higher up and not at the ground, because it's so hard to see everything that's going on in the ring. And we've seen Michael Cole stick to the monitor recently.
Karl, because you used to sit with Luke and call Dynamo Pro. So, I mean, from sitting where you're located at, sometimes you don't see everything that happens.
Correct.
I mean, I know I do realize that I saw you stand up several times, especially during big moves and stuff like that. So, I mean,
right.
I have that issue.
And guys, not to kind of cancel this topic, but Renee brought up a good point that I completely forgot about with Rodell being in here and Jeremy, a couple Missouri guys, and Haas adding on to this. The Missouri Athletic Commission announcement. I kind of want to touch on this real quick just because I think it's important. But I also think it's important to note the absolute ill patience of a lot of the wrestling community on this matter. And so I'm just going to get my 2 cents out of the way. The commission made an announcement that they were going to tax or add a 5% tax on top of, have the tax on top of that, charge $1 surcharge per ticket.
No,
so
the 5% surcharge.
It was already there.
Is already there. That was already there. They're adding
$1 surcharge was added on,
which includes comp tickets as well, not just sold tickets. It's a comp. If someone comes in as a comp ticket, it goes on there. So it's it's $1 per ticket plus the 5% revenue.
Right. And so with that being said, I kind of, just because, I was kind of looking at this from a different perspective outside of wrestling and was going to do a story on this and kind of do a couple of different things, because the way Twitter made it seem like at first this was a done deal, hands were wiped, this is over, and they kind of stuck it in the face. And not necessarily the case, right? So I called 3 people that knew the situation better than I did and better than a lot of other people did. And I was reassured that, there's going to be a time to talk, right? And there was going to be different things that could happen. And while it's good to raise awareness and to get people involved, I think there are certain people that were calling bloody murder against a government entity that, in all seriousness, needs money to run. And it's the state's fault, because the state should be funding them. It shouldn't go on to.
That is true. I will.
Motors. And just to let me finish this point real quick, because I know that I'm actually really curious to see what you have to say here. It actually, the people that kind of were calling for this commission to be abolished over this proposal are just absolutely ridiculous in a sense, because what the commission gets rid of is a lot of the junk that we see in Illinois, a lot of the junk that we see in places that aren't regulated. How many backyard promotions that work on a $5 a ticket show, hot dog and a handshake deal with guys that are bleeding all over the place, that aren't tested, that aren't regulated to test, that don't have to be licensed, have no training. And we need some of that, right? But we also need to learn patience and understand that we have to communicate first before we call for heads to roll in a state office.
Okay. Okay. Can I? Okay. I understand where you're coming from. I don't know who you talk to, so I'm glad you're in the media. You do a show on KTRS every week. So well, I understand, but on that email that was sent out, this was going into effect April 30th, or right in that area. So are you saying that it's not going into effect April 30th?
No, they didn't say it was a done deal. They said we were going to take time to hear concerns,
but see,
this was a proposal date.
That was nowhere in that email that they sent.
Absolutely, I'm just telling you, the people I talked to who run promotions and that do this thing, they were informed in an email, and I actually saw it that this was a proposed date, that these were going to start, but they were going to hear concerns, and there were 3 separate dates that we're forgetting. Right? It was date 1, date 2, date 3 for proposals. But let's be honest, pro wrestling took the least of the brunt of it. Boxing took bigger hits than anybody else.
But also wrestling takes the biggest hit on permit fees. Okay, if you look at the application for permit on wrestling pays $150 per show. Boxing, right. MMA, everything else pays $25 per show.
Right.
I like the commission for what they do and making sure that everyone has blood work and physicals and stuff like that. But if this rule goes into effect, it's basically them backdating what they didn't make in 2020 and 2021 due to the pandemic, because they didn't get Vince money. The right. WWE feeds because the state doesn't finance them, which we can talk that can be talked about in a completely different way. That is something completely different. That there's a state
That's a whole
agency.
New ball game.
There's a state agency that the state doesn't fund.
That's the thing, and that's what my point was. And I wasn't disagreeing with you, because there's certain things I don't like about it, but the bigger conversation needs to be why the hell the state isn't funding this, because it puts such a pressure on the promoters that have a close relationship with these commission guys that are all just trying to stay afloat. And that's where I'm kind of at. I don't know if that's where you're at too.
Well, it's just that dollar is going to cut. I mean, Journey Pro, our friends at Journey Pro at KC, their promoter put out a really good timeline, really good tweet thread of like talking about taxes and stuff like that. That a $300 ticket, a $300 front row ticket at a WWE show, you add the extra dollar onto it, it's going to make the percentage from 5 to like 5.3%.
Right.
But if you're a promotion that's charging only $5 for your tickets, you add an extra dollar to that, the percentage is going to be up to $25 or 25% of the ticket cost. So that, I think, is what everyone is up in arms about.
Is it a bad thing though? Because we've seen these $5 promotions, man. And does it actually do a service to keep them around?
But in those areas that those $5 promotions run in, that's all they have. They're in these little towns that they don't get. They're not anywhere close to like a Kansas City or a St. Louis or a Jefferson City.
We have it lucky out here.
We have it absolutely really lucky, because we've got Dynamo Pro, Journey Pro, or Glory Pro. We got that
Anarchy.
The St. Louis versus the World show that's coming up in a couple weeks at the Grandel Theater. We've got
and I understand
SICW, SBAC. I mean,
I totally understand that. But why isn't I get the fans don't have much in that $5 promotion. They only have a certain area they can run because they're in the middle of nowhere. I get it. But why isn't one of those guys saying, you know what, we need to do better? Because, I mean, in all seriousness, how many guys in St. Louis took the bull by the horns and created something different because they didn't like a way a promotion was running.
And Renee just nailed it on the absolute head. The profitability of local wrestling shows is already razor thin because it's at this time of the year right now when they're announcing this. Promoters, because every 2 years you have to get you have to renew your license, and you know it yourself, you have to renew your license every 2 years.
I understand that,
and it's now, but you're having to pay the promoter's license. You have to pay for every show that we're running.
Yeah, but here's where I'm kind of getting at. I hate to be the bad guy, but just because someone wanted to start a promotion with no financial stability isn't my problem. And I hate to be that guy, but if you're going to start a company with no money and you're going to operate on the hope that people show up and not have a backbone and a foundation in case that nobody does to support your staff and to support your company, that's not on anybody other than the guy that wastes his money.
And I do get that, but the thing of it is also not everybody is fortunate enough to have a big financial backing to start a promotion.
Then they should.
So I do see why and I'm not calling you out. Believe me, I do understand the perspective of why should it be our problem. But at the same time, we got to at least understand why it's a problem they're enduring and why now it's going to get worse.
And we're
thinking too much about it from an emotional standpoint here. I think it's business.
I personally just think it's like.
It is business, definitely.
It's business. It's business. But I mean, I wouldn't go as far as some people said that it's extortion. I may have jumped on the extortion thing, but it's them making up for a government agency that, again, we need to have this conversation. Why isn't the Missouri State Department of Athletics funded? They're under the Missouri Department of Professional Registration, which
thank you.
Which not only is wrestling, it's the beauticians and pharmacists and pharmacy techs, doctors and teachers. I believe everything is under that Department of Professional Registration. The Missouri Department of Athletics is under that. Why aren't they getting funding? I'm not saying you need to fund them millions and millions of dollars every year because they're a small department. It's just, for my experience, it's Tim and it's the secretary and several other. There might be a couple other people in the office, and then it's they pay the inspectors like Bill and Chris Powell and Karl Lauer to go around to go around. So I mean,
here's what, and that's where I'm kind of getting at here. It sucks, but I think the biggest conversation needs to be everyone that raised bloody murder over this proposal. Why don't we raise bloody murder over what you just said? This would stop the whole thing. Missouri is in $1 billion, $100 million surplus where they don't know where to spend money, right? There's been the whole thing in Jeff City. It's been the whole thing in a lot of local governments is we have money to spend, but we don't know where to spend it. And it's going to go away. And so maybe it's time to say, let's reallocate some of those funds that we need to get rid of anyway into that. And so that's where you call a Governor Parsons' office, or you call a Peter Meredith or a local rep that's in your area.
I have emailed my local my state rep, which I had to look up because I don't know their names on the ballot, and I don't really pay that much attention to them because it's local. I mean, they don't do that much for you,
right?
So I emailed them, and then. Not that you're going to get anything from your congressional reps, your representative from Missouri, from your Missouri 2, and then your 2 state senators.
No, you aren't.
All I got was form letters back saying thanks. We'll look into this, and
they won't.
And they're not because they've got other fish to fry. They have the whole country to worry about. Whereas you're better off going to your Missouri state reps and your Missouri state senator.
Right. And that was kind of, I think I was kind of using that as a way to transition to shoot and stuff, because we might take a couple of minutes of a break here as we wait for our next guest to come on, if that's cool, Haas, in a minute or two. But I wanted to bring up Renee's comment before I flip it over to Jeremy and Chris here about Bill Gates again, because that's a great comment. And I think it's something great to discuss. Just a point to make on this. I get it. Sean Combs, Bill Gates started shoestrings. A lot of companies start shoestring, right? Vince McMahon was on a shoestring when he bought his dad's company, but he didn't. They all didn't start these companies and shoestring them on an oversaturated market in their area. They were a one of a kind.
That I do
entity.
agree with.
And
I
so
agree
it's
with
time
that
to
part.
realize, certain things, right? So that's what I'll leave it at. Whatever you guys want to finish up and wrap up with. I just thought it was an interesting conversation to have. I don't disagree with either of you at all.
Yeah, I was going to say, I do agree with you, Dick, on that point where, okay, like
I will admit I have not seen any of the further emails. If there were other emails that were sent to the companies, because like you said, you only hear about the things that make the news.
Right.
So, but I mean, I don't like it because it's gonna make people, it's gonna put promoters into a bind where they have to choose one or the other. So, Maestro, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I was just saying, yeah, I understand because, okay, we are, like I said, extremely fortunate that, at least for, Dick, Chris, myself, we are in a very wrestling-rich area as far as promotions and as far as just
hey guys, give me a
quality
couple of minutes,
see.
a couple of seconds.
Go away, Dick. Yeah,
and anyway,
the show just got 100% better.
The ratings are through the roof.
I'm just kidding. I love Dick Douglas,
but
he's a good
do agree with him on the point where, you look at what Renee said about Bill Gates and Master P and Sean Combs, but professional wrestling is becoming an oversaturated market. There are, and I love the ambition that guys and ladies have on wanting to start promotions. The thing of it is, if you have a 30-mile radius and you have, let's say, 15 promotions, you're going to have to pray that you have a loyal fan base that will watch as much wrestling as they can handle, because otherwise you are really about to struggle when it comes to trying to get any type of financial profit out of it, because there is that thing of an oversaturation. That's why you can't have one too many of anything in sports. Otherwise, people will not tune in. And with professional wrestling, it's even harder because, say there's 50 professional wrestling promotions, 5 to 8 max will find a way to distribute via media, whether it be on a TV deal or on a local streaming network avenue. The other 42 are going to struggle to find a way to keep that loyal fan base. And yes, this does put a whole damper on the ambitions of a lot of upstart promotions. While it's not necessarily a problem per se that we have to endure, it's something that affects us because we're in the wrestling industry. All of us are in some way, shape, or form. So we're going to go to the shows and we're saying to ourselves, hopefully we can keep going, because how it gets affected with the Missouri Athletic Commission. And, we'll just, honestly, best way I can put it, we'll see where it goes from here. I just know that it'll definitely affect more people than it'll affect others. And unfortunately, that is how the world works. And it's terrible to say it and understand that that is true. But it does suck. It absolutely sucks that some people just can't get the shot that other people can, even if they have the same amount of heart and ambition, but shit, it's 2022. I guess that's just the way it is.
I mean, people are so in their corners right now. It doesn't matter what you talk about. You can talk about how the sky is blue, and someone's going to be like, "Oh no, the sky is red." The sky is not blue. I don't know what are you talking about. So it's just, I don't know. It's crazy. So I mean, I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Is Rodell having a boo boo right now? When I was
no. We were just talking about how everyone is so in their own corners right now. Where if someone said the sky is blue, someone's gonna come up to you and be like, "No, the sky is not blue. Are you drunk or something? The sky is like red."
Yeah, because I was telling him basically, that like you had said earlier, Dick, it is an oversaturated market, especially out here in St. Louis. We got a bunch of great wrestling promotions, but let's understand there's key word in there is a lot. And, with people that are wanting to upstart that don't have a true good financial backing for it, it's just become a much harder endeavor for them. And It is business. It sucks and it's heartbreaking, but at the same time, it is just how the business is. So I do agree with, your
This is why I think
on
we
that.
need a governing body. I've said this for the last 6 months since came back from Austin. We need a governing body. We need, not saying we need a president of wrestling, even though I'd make a great one, but I mean, it's to the point where you need somebody to make some real rules here.
And there's very few states that have like a state athletic commission that oversees things, and most of them run the same way. I believe someone said when we were talking
Kentucky's
about it,
is pretty strict though, from what
Kentucky's is locked down. Yeah, they're very tight on their rules.
But I also saw whenever this was going down, the people, our friends at the Arkansas, the Nebraska Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, were about Nebraska used to have a state commission, and it was so locked down that no one could run in there. There'd be like one promotion that would run once a year or something. Mm-hmm. And now they've got now it's Nebraska, so it's a smaller state. So but they have four pretty viable promotions now that they released some of the laws. So I like the commission because again, it does the testing to make sure that I don't want to get in the ring with someone that's I mean, are you sniffing brandy? Are you drinking brandy?
No, I'm watching Dick Douglas for president of wrestling. I was kind of stewing in.
Good Lord, we do not need that. So
I think so. Oh, by the way, thank you, Herb Simmons, for the kudos on the conversation.
Yeah,
I thought it'd be something different to talk about on an impromptu way tonight, on a great Tuesday night in St. Louis and all over the world, it seems like.
I know. I'm glad I'm jumped on. I'm pretty sure Dick Douglas is pretty glad I jumped on to.
Me
to
too.
Help out.
Yes.
I mean, because sometimes when you're on a live podcast, you kind of have to jump on and help your brothers out. So
right. Well, we appreciate that. And how much time do we have before our guest?
Well, actually, our guest is backstage, so I don't know if you guys want to take a real quick break and then come back with Dean Fleming, or rather you guys just want to jump right into Dean, however you guys want to do it.
So let's take a minute and a half, 2 minute quick break just to get reset. Let's get ready for our interview.
And gentlemen, I am going to jump off and let you guys. I'm going to go back to watching on the YouTube and the Facebook Live. So I hope you guys have a great rest of the show. I just wanted to jump on and help guide the conversation. And I will see you both this Saturday.
And I will see you tomorrow night.
And I will slide that guide the conversation like he was like the anchor to the. Yeah, it's okay. I love you.
and I can't wait to get up to. Actually, we all need to go up to Virginia sometime too, with the West Virginia area, catch a WDWA show sometime with Hoss, and maybe we'll get lucky and see Joe get tased again. So
let's hope so.
I will pay extra for that.
I would pay money for that. I mean, I think we could get a pool going, don't you guys think?
Oh, yeah.
So. And you know where I would pay money for? Seeing Chris Rodell Saturday. Chris, thank you so much, man. Let's take this quick break so we don't keep our guests
you guys have
much longer. Oh, okay. Well, he's gone. That was when we come back, we got a great interview with Dina coming up after this on the Wrestle Talk podcast on a Tuesday night without Renee Martinez and Jeremy Karp filling in.
Have the guts to be where you want to be. You need people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fucking finger and say, that's the bad guy. So say good night to the bad guy. Come on. Last time you're going to see a bad guy.
Welcome back, everybody, from that short little break there. Had a pretty good first hour discussion there. You know, due to technical difficulties, our first hour guest didn't make it. But, you know, Oz, what do you think?
Oh, I thought it was great. To get Chris's insight on that's great because and it's great whenever you have somebody. Chris and I don't always agree politically in any sense, but that's fine. I really thought the conversation like that is how you get something done, and a lot of great stuff to talk about. Great interview coming up, and thank you guys on the comment line for keeping us going throughout. If you want to comment and ask some questions for the guests coming up, feel free to do so. But I want to make sure I'm following this right, Haas, because I'm normally not the guy in that. I'm here for the duration normally. Do I have to talk about our wonderful sponsors again of the Wrestle Talk podcast coming back from this break in the 8 o'clock hour?
I mean, if you want me to, I'll be more than happy to.
You know what, Jeremy? You go for it. You have stepped up to the plate, and I want to take a moment to highlight the best of the best that sponsor the Wrestle Talk podcast in Jeremy Karp's voice.
Alrighty, so we got everything combat. We got Kincaid Arcade for you in Kansas City. We got the Esports Bar KC out here for the state of Missouri. Interstate 70 Sports Media, Royal Mills Transportation, Painter's Dream Productions, Rathbun Engraving. Folks, Haas, show them the mug. Show them why the mug is as awesome as it is and why it is worth a purchase. Look at that beauty right there. I'm telling you. And don't forget, we got Mi Fiesta KC party rentals for all of your party needs out there in good old Kansas City. And also, we have to make sure you ask for Pete at the Noble Men's Barber Lounge. And, folks, it is the premier professional wrestling fantasy group in the entire United States of America. And that is, of course, the one, the only, the FWWC.
Thank you very much, Jeremy Karp, Hardcore Haas. I'm glad to have you here. And I'm glad for this hour, or not really an hour. I hate when people come back and go, we got an hour left. No, we don't. We got about 36 minutes because we're professionals and on the dot. And it's time for our guest this evening. I'm excited. I know you guys are as well, so let me get right into it. Our guest this evening, the one and only, the undeniable one, Dean Fleming, joins us now. Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Winning isn't everything. It's the only thing.
Hardcore Hoss for that awesome music. Dean, how are we doing?
Oh, all is well. All is well. Hope y'all are doing good tonight.
We're hanging
doing pretty
in there.
good. Thank you.
All right.
No, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And it's great to have you on this 8 o'clock hour. And we're looking forward to that and looking forward to hopefully a little bit of trivia along the way. But just to get right into it, and Renee Martinez is obviously very happy that you're here, even though he called in sick, and I want to make it known for that. But let's just jump right into to your career here as a professional wrestler. It's my first time getting a chance to know you, so I just want to kind of jump right out of the gate with just not really a softball, but just to kind of get to know you question. Talk to us a little bit about your career, and not in a Wikipedia way, but talk to us a little bit about who inspired you and what your career in professional wrestling has looked like, and what's led you up to this point in your career.
Sure, we'll get you going there. Well, I kind of always grew up a fan, of wrestling. Who didn't really?
Right.
When WrestleMania came to Dallas in 2016, the first time around, that's when I really discovered independent wrestling. Who knew that it existed? I didn't. Then it did. And people were passing out flyers and all that stuff. Went out to some shows. And, eventually got hooked up with Bobby Horn, Sir Mo from Men on a Mission. Told me he trained me. Said, sure, let's do this. Dang near killed me in a tryout. And then was like, hey, you're actually in pretty good shape. Do and how far do you see this wrestling thing happen? I was like, hey man, so I've got these athlete knees, and I'm not sure how much they're going to hold up. He was like, you'll be fine. So I started as a manager when I first came into professional wrestling. So for the rest of from October 2016, when my tryout was, up until right about the midway point of 2018, I did a lot of managing, whether it be for Soar Championship Wrestling. I did some commentary for DFW All Pro, and just did a few things here and there throughout the country, traveling with Sir Mo. And when we went to these shows, and not to like talk bad about anyone in particular, but I would watch some of the wrestlers and say, man, I can do that. Well,
Right.
I'm just as in shape as it, or I'm in more shape than that. I've done that. So I said, you know what? Just put me in the ring. Let's do this thing.
Well, and not to kind of cut you off here, but I want to point out how just to start off, so many people ask the question, what's training like as a wrestler? What's the first couple of months look like? And it's great to hear that I'm not the only one that's lungs were completely blown out in conditioning either. I think that's normally the biggest shocker to people. It's like, wait, you weren't pile driving people day one? Well, no, that's not how this works.
Absolutely. Honestly, when we're getting people into our training academy here in Dallas or in Carrollton, or even in the bumps and bruises they have in Little Rock, Arkansas. So all those tryouts, at least the ones for 501, for the 469 here in Dallas, they come through me. Right. If they want to try out with bumps and bruises, it's with me. And I put them through the same thing that I went through, so they can see what that's like. And that's always the first one. The number of squats kill them, and then their lungs. They're just breathing heavy with everything we do. So.
Well, and then on top of it too, because I kind of had the same kind of path. I started off, as a ring announcer before getting into the ring. But just how do you think being a manager helped benefit you in that, long run, getting into stepping inside the ring? Was it good to see that perspective from an outside, force as a manager, to watch everything kind of play out and to learn that way? Was that beneficial to you?
It really was big time. And I kind of got thrown into the fire with it. I was probably 3 weeks into training, literally about 3 weeks. And then Sir Mo said, you're going to open the show with a promo. So good luck. Sorry, what?
Excuse me?
Excuse me, who? So I did that. And then, probably 3 months in, we're at practice at training, and he starts pitching me the storyline. And so I go into it with him about, you should try this, or maybe this and this. And then all of a sudden he said, by the way, you're booking the next show. Good luck. What? Sorry, what? So I'm 3 months into this thing. I'm booking an entire show. I'm managing, 3 or 4 guys. So when we take that perspective with everything, right? So I learned the story, the writing of it, what was supposed to come next, how it was supposed to go down, and then seeing all of that in ring style and everything that happened, like right there close up from the manager's perspective, and then really getting into it with the crowd. Like, I'm very intuitive with them. I can pretty much tell what the crowd wants, when they want it, and when it's time to kind of back off on some stuff. So gaining that insight in real time has really helped me with my in-ring portion of it as well.
Right. And before I flip it over to Jeremy here for a couple, I got a question from Renee, who's obviously called in sick, but that's okay too. The question is, have you ever drawn comparisons to Stevie Richards?
It's been said before, because of the old shirt and tie with the IRS thing. People go there all the time. Right. The first time I debuted my in-ring gear was because I was wrestling one of our former fans, who is now one of our top wrestlers, and Nate the Great Lawson. And I was wearing my manager gear for a good, for two of our 3 matches. And then when it came down to the final match, I said, it's time to get down to business. Took off the dress shirt and had the cutoff shirt with it, same exact color and everything. It was gorgeous. The crowd hated it.
And I think it's great to point out that so you have wrestled in more of a business professional attire, right? Is that fair to say?
I have in the past, yes. The stuff
See,
that I'm wearing
Jeremy,
now.
I just wanted to make it a point because I get killed for it sometimes, but I'm not going to go out. I like to wear nice clothes. I'm here to fight. You can wrestle in a suit. I'm glad to hear that I'm not the only one.
No, I've done it before, but now everything I got made there is custom,
right?
Custom gear made. It
There
looks like dress stuff. Oh, but it's not. It wicks the sweat away.
That's right. I love it. I hear that, actually. I'm right there with you. Jeremy Karp, don't let me take up all the limelight here. What do you got for Dean Fleming tonight?
Well, Dean you've had the pleasure of wrestling against so many well-known names. One of them that comes to my mind is an absolute legend in the pro wrestling industry, and that's Greg the Hammer Valentine.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like being in the ring with him?
So when I wrestled Greg the Hammer Valentine, we were in Kansas at American Wrestling Revolution, which at that time was known as Kansas Wrestling Revolution. They changed their name. Once COVID shut down and we came back, they rebranded. During that match, it was a triple threat tag match. It was myself and Christopher Hayden versus the Buddy System versus Greg the Hammer Valentine and Dan the Animal Danimal up in Kansas. And I was in that match entirely too long. Didn't want to be in as long as I was, but Hammer wouldn't let me leave the ring. He kept seeing how I was selling everything he was doing, and I had to stay in the match. It was great. A crowd reaction to that match, in 2019, Greg the Hammer Valentine is getting "You Still Got It" chants.
Right.
I'll take that how you will. That's how it went.
Yeah, I was gonna say, obviously it takes both competitors to really make the match flow. And
sure.
What is it for you? You and Dick Douglas were literally just talking about the attire that you guys have worn in the ring and competed with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So just for those actually thinking to themselves, wrestling in business attire, tell them why that's not a good idea.
It's all business attire because we're going to work and putting in that work every time we step in the ring. Don't let them fool you, Dean. Just say it right there to them.
You get it. Look, I got to handle business, and sometimes business gets dirty. That's why I don't have sleeves.
Thank you. Don't take that crap from nobody, Dean. Don't let Jeremy try to step up to you like that. I'm appalled, Jeremy, that you'd ask them questions.
Thought I could get it right past them, but I saw you away from the screen, and I thought this was the chance, and then you pop back in. I was like, well.
Before we go back to Jeremy, I got another question on behalf of Renee Martinez because, I feel like I'm now his messenger for this portion of the show, which is fine. He's just going to have to pay me more. What kind of adjustments did you have to make when you wrestled short sleeve Samson? Did you have to make any?
No, I didn't have to make any adjustments at all. Short sleeve Samson was terrific to be in the ring with.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously his knowledge is completely there. So everything that we needed to do, we did during that time. We knew what the fans wanted out of that match, and we gave it to them.
Right.
We gave them some comedy, but we also gave them some intrigue, and we gave them a little suspense until, we had to take it to an end.
So absolutely. Sorry, Jeremy. Renee's comment came first. He's paying me extra.
Hey, you know what? Consider yourself fortunate because he don't even pay me.
You guys are getting paid.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, wait a minute. He's talking about getting paid more. Like, Dick Douglas over here. Dean, let me tell you, he's always negotiating contracts, and I'm over here thinking, shit, I'm just.
Let me ask you this before I give it back to Jeremy. Sorry, Jeremy, but I just had another one about just the newer generation of wrestlers that we're seeing come up in the independent scene. A lot of times when I ask people this question, a lot of guys say, some of the younger guys are kind of, in their own way. in a sense. Maybe their attitudes aren't right, and their mind for a lot of the older people in the locker room, or a lot of the veterans, not really older, but a lot of the experienced guys. Do you see this newer generation of professional wrestling as something that's kind of just different? So it's taking some, a different style, a different, match flow. Is it taking a lot of, experienced guys time to catch on to the younger guys, or is it a time where maybe younger guys need to listen a little bit more, and they're getting a little too overzealous and just generally speaking, not person A or person B, but just as wrestling as a whole, as younger wrestlers coming in as a whole. Do you see that as a problem or a good thing for the business?
I mean, with the way wrestling is kind of flowing right now, and this is going to sound like a generic answer, but there has to be like a good medium between the two,
for sure.
Because the complete old school style won't always work, just because social media and outlets and stuff like that. Fans are, let me put this in quotes, smarter now than they were. At least they like to think they are. So you could still get away with some old stuff, but if you combine some of that newer, flashier style to go with some of that old school, fight-like mentality, I think that's when you get the best combination, and you get the most people invested into what it is that you're doing when you're in the ring.
Right.
So I think that's kind of where everyone needs to kind of sell their path. One of the only things that I will, talk, the old school is always right on this, is the not calling everything match. You don't call it all. Let the fans dictate what happens.
Right. Absolutely.
Get you a couple of little high spots in there that that, hey, we got to do this because it's a transition or something like that. But then from that, it's just, what are the fans? What do they want? Let's get them involved. Let's listen to what they have to say and go with their direction.
Absolutely. Jeremy, you got anything before I throw it into a Renee's question again?
Yeah, because I was going to say Renee's definitely getting all the questions out there. Okay, so you had mentioned when you had actually said a high spot, it kind of brought me back to thinking about what Haas and Dick and I were talking about earlier in the show. And I had mentioned about Daniel Garcia bringing up in an interview that you can be both a professional wrestler and a sports entertainer.
Mm-hmm.
How would you classify yourself when you walk out through that curtain into the ring? And how are you able, if both, to manage both?
I would definitely say I'm a little bit of both. And I'm a little bit more on the sports entertainer side of that, just because who I am as a person and as a character and all that stuff. I'm just an entertainer at heart. If there's something the fans want, I'm going to give it to them, whether it's me yelling, looking like I'm crying, stuck in a dog cage. Trust me, I've done it. It's all about what do the fans want. But at the same time, they know that if once I'm in the ring and, you see that little flip switch, I can do basically anything I need to do in the ring, wrestling wise as well. So I'd like to say I'm a little bit of both, probably closer to that sports entertainer side because of, entertainment.
I totally understand. So Renee, yes, does have another question, and I appreciate it. So here we go. Your thoughts on Derek Ellis and AWR overall. What has your experience been like?
Derek Ellis is one of the coolest dudes that I have met, especially promoter wise. He absolutely takes care of all the boys and girls and whoever else comes out to work for him. He absolutely takes care of them. And AWR draws. Let's just say that they know how to get fans in the door. And that is because Derek goes out there along with the crew that also lives in that area, and they promote their asses off. There's every time we're in Hoisington, there are at least 400 fans packed into this, this gymnasium auditorium, style venue. And it is a great fan base. So I have a great time every time I go out there.
All right. Awesome. So, go ahead.
Sorry. Nope. Keep going, Jeremy. Don't let me knock you off your flow. Just give it back to me.
All right. So before we're going to hand it back, honestly, to Dick Douglas soon. But honestly, what I'm trying to do is save his vocal cords because I know him well enough to where come Saturday night, he's going to be pretty busy.
Oh, we'll talk about that later. I want to know more about Dean Fleming.
That's what I'm saying. So, Dean, I got to ask. So, when that time you made your debut as a professional wrestler, just what went through your body when you step out there? Like, and honestly, how big was the show that you had made your debut in?
So when it comes to being actually the wrestler portion, not the manager that made a debut, the wrestler portion.
Right.
This kind of got thrown on us, kind of last minute. We had a couple of weeks to prepare for it, but at that time, me and Nate Lawson were kind of butting heads as manager and fan, and we knew what the crowd wanted to see. So Nate had just started training. I'm talking maybe 2-3 weeks tops. And Sermo looked at us and said, we got to capitalize on this while it's hot. You guys are the main event. It's on y'all to sell this thing out. We had one of our top selling shows ever that very first main event. The music hit. Was I nervous? Absolutely. I was nervous just because I knew Nate hadn't been training very long. There were more people than we'd seen there in quite a bit of time. But I kind of trusted myself too. I knew what I was doing. So, I mean, the nerves were there, but once the music hit and I saw everybody in the crowd, it kind of eased up.
And let me just kind of piggyback off that with crowd with your matches and things like that. Can you give me everyone has that feeling, whenever they do whenever a match is just, in their mind, great. It's one that they envisioned, everything goes right. And we can always talk about how those great matches feel, but as somebody that's been, as successful as you've been and how many, great opponents and how many great, matches you've had, what about the matches that don't go very well? As somebody who's experienced and, talking to maybe some of the younger guys out there that maybe just fell, flat on their face one night and had a stinker. What's your mental battle after that? How do you, kind of dissect that match going forward? How do you get better from one of those? And what's maybe your process? And don't take that as a disrespectful and think,
Sure.
It's a stink fest, but maybe a match that wasn't up to your standards. How do you build off of that?
I mean, sure. We've all been in that situation where we haven't performed like we thought we would. But coming from an athletic background with sports in high school and, some like intramural stuff in college and whatnot, you always have that. It's the next play mentality. So it's kind of the same way in that, man. It was a bad match. All right, next match mentality. We got to improve on it. So, just watch the match back, see what happened, see where it went wrong and say, oh, okay. So instead of that, I should have done this, should have been listening more here, probably called too much right here to just let it flow. That's really my personal strategy for didn't perform well, want to perform better next time.
Absolutely. And just to keep the ball rolling here, some of the crowds that you worked with, probably, you've worked for big crowds, little crowds. What's the hardest thing to do? Some guys say that working the crowds of hundreds are the hardest, or going out there performing and those situations are more difficult. A lot of guys say that, man, going out there sometimes when there's only 20 people in the building is hard to win a crowd over. Have you ever had those experiences? And what do you resort to in times like that when it's going to be an uphill, battle going into it, or maybe a little bit tougher?
Sure. I mean, we just experienced that, within the last several months. We went to a town in Arkansas that we, hadn't been to. So not everybody knew us. We didn't really particularly draw as well as we'd hoped. And the crowd that was there, the entire show were just kind of sitting on their hands.
Right.
And me as a talker, somebody that needs that crowd interaction back and forth, like those are some of the toughest matches for me.
Right.
When the crowd is just kind of sitting there, you're like, I have no one to pick on because no one's giving it back.
Right. No kidding. And you're like, okay, what do I do now? What's going on?
So and that's where it comes back to listening, and the best that we can, so do they respond to the big strike? Are they responding to the cool move, the rest hold, just try out. It was just trying out different things. It's kind of a strategy there. It's like, let's see if something catches here. And if not, then let's just go through and get this thing done.
Right. And I know that we're coming up to the 9:00 portion of the show at the trivia stuff, and I want to get a couple of other questions in because this is really insightful. I'm glad. Thank you for taking some time to talk with us tonight.
Oh yeah.
One of the questions I have for you as we're wrapping up, what's the biggest accomplishment, if you can say, let's say you had to retire tomorrow God forbid you had to step away, what's the one thing that you hang your hat on going, this is the highlight of it, this is the chapter to write on? What is that moment for you?
I'm going to give you two moments. And it's kind of one of those things, but I'm going to give you two moments. One was when I became the first Grand Slam champion at Soar. And the reason that was such a big moment for me was because I was at Soar for the very first event. And I've been there this entire time. So I've seen our highs, I've seen our lows, and everything in between, even to a point where there were plenty of people that when I was crowned the world champion for us the very first time, there were plenty of people that didn't believe in my ability as because I am a manager stepping into the ring now, and people had a hard time looking past that. So to go in and show them that, well, everything I've done here, there's been success behind it. Yes, we know what wrestling is as far as like, oh, this is going to happen for you now. This is going to happen for you now. But those things don't happen if the crowd's not also behind me.
Right.
So just being able to pull that along was something really big. But then to even take that a step further was to get that extra shine, so to speak, on AEW Dark, which is where zero people other than me and Sermo and then the band of brothers and sisters and everything that I got behind me now at Bumps and Bruises even believed a thing that I could do. Right.
Absolutely. And just before we give it back to Jeremy here, just one last question. What's the, on top of everything you just said, if you have a young guy that comes up to you and asks you for advice or just kind of wants some of your, not maybe necessarily specific feedback, but just some thoughts on how to take the journey or, the path maybe to how to look at it. What's your first bit of advice to someone that asks you and goes, hey, I really want to do this. This is something I'm serious about. What's the first thing you tell somebody?
Well, the first thing that you got to know is, you're going to get beat up. It's just part of it. So, can you withstand that? Next thing is you've got to have very understanding people in your life because you're going to miss time, traveling to shows, having shows on the weekends. But other than those, you need to find a reputable school with reputable trainers. And it doesn't necessarily mean they went to WWE or, AEW or any of that, but somebody that's got a track record of teaching things the correct way. And you can see it in their students and everything along those lines. Like that's the biggest piece. And then you don't know it all. So just listen. And when they tell you to do something a certain way, try it out.
Absolutely. Jeremy Karl, don't let me take up too much more of your time. Sorry, I got on a little bit of a roll there. What else you got for Dean before we head into the trivia challenge?
I was going to say, I do got one last question for Dean before we head into the Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge, which is always one of my favorite parts of the show. So, Dean, honestly, Dick actually usually asks, he just asked a question I usually ask at the end of interviews. So I'm glad he did ask it. But for me, okay, so in professional wrestling, there's a thing known as paying your dues.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like for you early on having to do just that? And what is the impact it has on you now, all these years later in your career?
I mean, starting out, since I was the first student for the Bumps and Bruises here in Dallas, we didn't have a lot of students coming in. So when show setup happened, guess who was generally one of one or one of 3 or 4 that were showing up to set everything up. So with that, I mean, I learned where everything was at, but you also learn the importance of every single person doing the job that they have. And then you have that sense of pride that comes with everything. So like, when the ring's set up right and nobody else has to touch it, especially when those vets get in there and try to mess around, and it's like, man, everything's good today. Like, dang right it is. Neat. Yeah. Hit it. So, just having that sense of pride is really a big part of that, paying dues thing.
Absolutely. And Jeremy, just one last one before we get to the game show. What's the future looking like for Dean Fleming coming up here in the next 6 months? What's the plan, and how are things looking for you?
Well, in the next few months, I am going up to AWR a couple of times. Mm-hmm. Got some good stuff planned for up there. But, back home here in Dallas, May 14th, we've got our Open the Door, or the Door is Open show, where that thing is getting defended by me against somebody. I don't know who, but there's an open door challenge for it. Soar Management's telling everybody, drop some videos and telling why you want that from Dean. And I wish I had something to do with that, but I don't. And I'm getting all kinds of responses from it. And I'm like, all right, I guess I'm kicking everybody in the face. I don't.
Well, Dean, one last question from Renee Martinez, who just had to do this to us because he loves to throw one last one. This is about your AEW Dark appearance, and I've heard somewhat about just how some of these, it's a long film day from what I've been told in certain avenues. So how was that appearance overall from the start to finish, and how was the energy in the filming process of that day, or the build up for that match?
I mean, overall, like, it was a tremendous experience. Just being out there with, guys same level as me, guys that are, the name guys, and everybody there was so cool, so chill. It was such a great vibe in the locker room. They're very much professionals when it comes to everything after matches and stuff like that too. Like, I'm sure if you go back and you watch the match that I had with Nick Camarado, it was on the December 14th episode. Well, the finish was a running Alabama slam, in which case he just kind of flung me very hard onto the canvas. As soon as I got to the back, everybody's back to like, are you good? Do you have a concussion? Do you need water? You need to see a doctor? Like, they are like on top of it.
That's awesome.
It was really, it was really cool. Everybody there was pretty tight knit. It was laid back. Like, it was a great experience. I recommend it.
And then before, Jeremy, you take the reins over one last time, and because I've heard the same thing. I've heard it was just an awe-inspiring kind of thing for someone to be so. And congratulations on being asked to do it. That's definitely a lot of that should be everyone's kind of goal in the independent scene, or at least one part of the goal. But Renee, his daughter Bella is 10, and she says she loves wrestling and says hi. So
what's up, Bella?
Get the boss's daughter out of the definitely acknowledged here before I throw it to Jeremy.
Well, honestly, all I have to ask for Dean now is if he is ready to face off against you, Dick, in the world famous Wrestle Talk podcast trivia challenge.
Oh, look, there's Haas. Hey, Haas, what are you doing? Is someone
Let's
getting
do it.
fired?
Oh no, am I fired?
I had to come in so that I can get the game show music. You know that.
Oh, yeah, never mind.
Yeah,
Sorry.
exactly. I just
Sorry.
so I think I don't know about you guys, but I think it's about that time, Hoss. I think you got to hit that music because we got a game show to do.
All right, let's hit that music for Dick Douglas's first game show challenge.
I just want to point out that I get the first time. Look, hold that first time. All right.
You gotta let it play
I just
through.
want to point out that I have played this game like 100 times and I get screwed each time. First time my ass. First time I haven't been cheated, probably. That's all I want to
You
point
didn't
out.
know I
But
was
I'm
here
ready.
to play the music, so I assumed you didn't know what you were doing. I mean, hey.
All right.
All
You
right.
can let them all, Dean Fleming.
Oh, goodness gracious. Okay, well, gentlemen, welcome to this week's installment of the world famous Wrestle Talk podcast game show challenge. Tonight's contest is scheduled for the best 2 out of 3 falls. The contestants are the Wrestle Talk podcast's very own Richard Douglas and the undeniable one, Dean Fleming. In a few moments, I will ask you both 3 questions about a particular wrestling topic. And when you think you know the answer, all you'll have to do is shout it out. Thankfully, we'll be able to see it thanks to our lovely friends at StreamYard. And Haas will be the tiebreaker just in case. So if I'm Dick Douglas, I'd be a little worried. Okay. So tonight's Wrestle Talk podcast game show challenge category is titled Nicknames.
Shit.
I will give information.
Feeling confident, folks.
Oh, this is going to be a long game show. All right. So it's about nicknames. I will give information about the nicknames of 3 professional wrestlers. And of course, when you think you know who the wrestler is I'm talking about, all you got to do is shout it out. All right. I would ask Dick if he's ready to go, but I think we already know how that answer is. So, Dean, are you ready to go?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All
I just
right.
want to point out, Chris Rodell said it beautifully last month when he said Dick is already ready to go, always at any time. I said it at Concordia, and it means the same now. But yes, I'm ready. Thanks for asking, Jeremy.
Okay, good. Just wanted to make sure we're all clear on that. Okay, so, gentlemen, question number 1. These are the nicknames. The highlight of the night. The man of 1,004 holds.
Oh,
Chris Jericho.
Dean Malenko.
Dean
Chris
Fleming
Jericho.
said it right. It's Chris Jericho.
Oh, damn it. I actually lost that time. I didn't get cheated. That one just stung. That one just actually hurt. I don't know if
You got to pay attention to the whole thing because he said 1,004
Right.
holds.
That's true. That's a good point.
Armbar. All right.
Armbar. Yeah, there you go. Can't forget the armbar. All righty. Here we go. Question number 2. Dick, you are still in this.
Yeah.
The ticking time bomb. The rogue horseman. Flying.
Brian Pillman.
Ooh. I think Dick might have actually finished it faster on that one.
That's disgusting. Let's use Richard in that context.
Finally, you're being upset about your name. Finally. I knew I would get you to be upset about your name. I just knew it. All right. So we are all tied up. And now it is time for the tiebreaker. All righty. Whew. All right. Here we go. Question number 4.
We're waiting.
Or actually, I'm sorry. Question number 3.
Is it 4? I was like, why is it not 3?
ADD, I can't focus on this shit. All right, here we go. Here we go.
Minutes to read a question, you read the wrong damn one.
Yeah, exactly. The guru of greatness. the Monday Night Delight, the Shaman of Sexy.
What's the Jinder Mahal? That kind of sounds like
No.
Oh.
Val Venus?
Nope. All right. Well, none of them
Is this
got
guy
that
a known wrestler? Is this somebody that actually is has a Wikipedia page?
Yes. In fact, but I'm going to move on. Since both of you got it, I'm just going to go on to the next question. The answer for that one was John Morrison.
I should have known that one.
All right.
Like yoga or something. That's how I know him. He's a big yoga guy.
Okay, here we go. Now we're at question number 4. The Rookie Monster, the War Machine, the Man Beast.
Keith Lee. Sullivan. What's his name? Lars Sullivan. Is that it?
Nope.
God damn it. Come on, Jeremy. Hit me with something else. What's another nickname for this guy?
All right,
Give me a good question.
I don't know. Man Beast. Nick Camarado?
No. Nope. All right. So we're running. All right, here we go. That one was Rhino.
Who made this quiz this
that
time?
one was Rhino.
That was Rhino. All right, here we go. This one, if you guys don't get it, there's no hope for
probably not
either
any hope. Then let's.
All right.
I'm already saying, Dean,
there we go.
Too hot here.
The final question. Literally, this is the last question I have sent to me. So otherwise, we're just.
We might set a record here, Dean. It might be the only ones to tie.
Yeah.
It's not our fault though. Those were bad questions.
All right, here we go. The Bionic Redneck.
Steve Austin. Let's move on. Let's go.
Dick Douglas got it.
Dean, I'm so sorry for that game show challenge.
All I do is win, no matter what.
That's not a win. I win more when I was rejecting from Finger Hut.
And they stay there.
Turn that shit off.
Okay. So congrats, Dick Douglas, on finding. This is the thing. Dick Douglas finally wins a game show challenge, and this might have been the worst game show challenge.
Thank you. It wasn't worth winning.
Maybe.
I didn't know. This was terrible. This was not a
that was brutal question wise. And
yeah,
I know just who to thank for those questions. I don't know if
he
Nick,
made
you
good
know
questions. It's just I don't know nicknames. I don't read the lower third of those damn entrance cards a lot of the time.
Well, that's
there's a lot of nicknames there.
Wait a minute. This proves why Vince McMahon is right and why he just cuts everybody's name down to just one word. Because look what happens when there's 3 names.
I mean, I really hope that he doesn't bring up the Prototype and the Leviathan and change their names.
That's true. There you go.
All right, well, Dean,
I'm sorry about that.
That was
okay. I didn't stand a chance anyway.
Dean Fleming, thank you. This was fun.
Thank you. This was great, though. This was an absolute blast.
Let's one last time. Let's get your social media out there. How can people find you? How can they follow you? And what's coming up show-wise for you?
Sure thing. You could find me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. It is all the same handle. It's at Dean Fleming. It's all lowercase letters, DeanFleming 903. You can see me on Facebook as Dean Fleming or the undeniable one, Dean Fleming, if you're looking for the fan page portion of that. Upcoming shows, we got April 30th in Hoisington, Kansas with AWR. Then we got May 14th. Yeah, we're looking to fill some other calendar dates in there. Hint, hint, everyone. But I got May 14th at Dallas Elks Lodge here in Dallas, Texas with Soar Championship Wrestling. And then I'm back in Kansas at Wichita, Kansas for AWR on May 21st. And that's some of the next few I've got coming up and still got some other tentative dates in there as well.
Dean Fleming, thank you so much. And please come back. That was awesome, man. Just
Absolutely.
To have your insight. Because, I mean, we like to ask, questions about the career, but it's also good to know a little bit about the person and how you think. And it was great to have you on and talk about some things. So thank you very much. And welcome to the Wrestle Talk podcast family.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all having me. Hope y'all have a great rest of your night.
Absolutely.
man.
We'll have to
Thank
do it
you.
again. Dean Fleming, guys, thank you very much. Jeremy Karp, I am very sorry for on behalf of the entirety of this faculty of the Wrestle Talk podcast for how badly I performed in the game show challenge. I never thought that would have been the case, but we now know I know nothing about nicknames. So,
we were on us hosts were on such a losing streak. That was probably the ultimate way for it to end.
But man, in all seriousness, guys, how great was Dean Fleming? That was a great interview.
Oh my gosh, Dean Fleming, great! Like,
just a great insight, great mind. I'm probably going to send him a message just to talk more about the business. Just a professional, genius guy. Glad we could have him on tonight. Thank you guys for listening. One last time, guys, what do we got coming up? Hardcore Hoss in the future for Wrestle Talk Podcast. We'll get to Jeremy and we'll wrap this Tuesday night up.
Oh yeah, we got more great shows coming up, and of course, we're only 9 shows away from 400 now.
Absolutely,
we're getting there.
Absolutely, that's huge, and I'm looking forward to episode 400. We're probably going to have a big shaboozy to do for that one, which we rightfully should, and looking forward to it. Jeremy Karp, I-70 Sports Media, what's going on for you in the near future?
All right, well, you can find me at Dynamo Pro Wrestling this Saturday night. Although I feel like, unfortunately, the list of participants is already full, so I don't think I'll get my in-ring debut shot.
Can we just talk again about how much bullshit that was that I didn't get put on the poster? I pay for my damn time, you know.
I know. I give you that. Like, come on. At the very least,
I've only been on every other poster for companies I've been on, but except for I just can't do it this time.
The one company of all, and that's Dynamo. I don't know what they got against you, Dick. But it's going to be a fantastic show this Saturday night at Concordia Turner's Gymnasium. Also for I-70 Sports, tomorrow night at 7:30 Central Standard Time, Roundabout Sports. We're on Facebook. We'll be on the I-70 Sports Twitter and on the I-70 Sports Media, Interstate 70 Sports Media YouTube channel. And our very own Chris Rodell will be the special guest. So you'll get to learn a lot more about, and Dick, please don't yell at me for when I say this, but the voice of Dynamo Pro Wrestling.
Oh, that's fine. I'm just the spearheader and political aficionado that's carrying that company to greatness. So I don't care about that.
There you go. I mean, you'll always have a title. May not be a D1 title, but it is a title.
Ooh, okay. All right. So before Jeremy can scorn me anymore, Hardcore Hoss, is that about it for us, or we have anything else that I need to address tonight here? And of course,
I do one more before we do the full close, but
okay.
So.
All
and
right.
I'm
We'll
pretty
get to
sure
that in a second. But
yeah.
guys, want to thank you for tuning in. Again, Renee Martinez being sick, we all stepped in, had some guest issues, but we had a great conversation the first hour, so be able to really have a genuine conversation on some genuine topics in professional wrestling. And of course, I've only seen this message 100 times. Damian Blade will be the new champion May 14th against Benjamin Truss for the MMWA championship. We'll have to see. It's only April, but yes, I want to get that out. But also cityonthehill.org. You can stay up to date. Website is just about finished, almost completed. So we're going to have a renovated website. It's going to look really good. A lot of good stuff on it, a lot of videos, all one hub, an app that's we're working on with the web developer too. So you can just download Dick Douglas on your phone and watch me win Saturday and become the D1 champion. And guys, once again, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm going to turn it over to Jeremy, and he'll take you out tonight with his words of wisdom like he does whenever he's on. So thank you guys again, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you so much, Dick Douglas. I'm telling you, folks, he is one of the brightest guys you will ever have the pleasure of meeting. And I know he may always bring controversial opinions, but quite honestly, he's still a pleasure to have around. To close out the show, times are still tough in the world. I know there's war going on overseas, and our prayers are with everybody in Ukraine, whether they're fighting or just trying to stay alive and stay safe. We're always thinking about you out there. There's a lot going on in the country these days, and we just got to stay together, stay strong. And on top of that, Haas, if you would like to, please put on the hotline at the bottom of the screen like usual. Mental illness is a very serious issue. Mental health is an important part of everyone's life. And so a while back, I started, and I do this on my shows as well as we do this here on the Wrestle Talk podcast. We put the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, and it's 1-800-273-8255. It is 24/7, 365, 366 on a leap year, and it's always available. And if you live in another country and you're tuning into the Wrestle Talk podcast, there's hotlines for your respective countries as well. The most important message that I can give across is that there's always somebody out there that loves you. We love you. We thank you all so much for tuning in on the Wrestle Talk podcast. You know, like Hardcore Hoss said, we are on the verge of episode number 400, and none of us could have imagined being to this point, but we're so blessed. We're thankful for the lives we have, and we're thankful that you all have stuck with us through all this. So on behalf of Richard Douglas, Hardcore Hoss, and myself, the Maestro Jeremy Karp, thank you so much for tuning in this week on the Wrestle Talk podcast. And always remember, life is a book full of empty pages just waiting to be written in. Make your lives worth reading. God bless and good night.